Welcome to After Dark Stories. Here we tell thrilling stories bound to make you come back for more. We upload new stories daily. Some are complete while others will be uploaded in episodes. But don't worry, all the multi-episode stories have their own playlist just for your convenience. If you like these stories, please give us a like and subscribe, as this will help us create better stories and videos. Now sit back, relax, and let's explore the unknown. The Woven Threads of Salem. Chapter 1. Whispers of Dread. In the year of our Lord 1692, Salem Village lay wrapped in the heavy cloak of winter, snow blanketing the earth like a shroud. The once bustling marketplace was quiet. Its stalls shuddered as isolated families huddled by flickering hearths, trading hushed whispers of dread. Among them was young Eliza Hawthorne, a spirited girl of 17 with auburn hair woven into a tight braid that trailed behind her, and eyes that sparkled with a feigned bravery masked by her innocence. Eliza spent her days helping her mother, Martha, whom the villagers regarded as a wise woman, skilled in healing herbs and tinctures. Martha infused their modest home with the sense of sage and thyme, her hands deft and knowledgeable. Yet, in a world shadowed by paranoia, such skills were often seen as a double-edged sword. One frigid afternoon, as gusts of wind howled outside, Eliza sat entwined with her younger brother, Gideon, in the warmth of their home. She spun tales of faraway lands and heroic knights, laughter ringing through the air until it was abruptly stifled by the sound of a knock on their door. The visitor was Rebecca Nurse, an elderly woman revered for her piety and benevolent spirit. Yet in this fevered atmosphere, she was ensnared in the web of suspicion. "Eliza, dear, I fear the shadows darken over our village," she said, her voice a tremor of age and trepidation. "There are whispers of witchcraft, and the courts murmur of trials." Eliza's heart raced. The ominous word witch was heavy with implications. To be accused could mean imprisonment, torturous questioning, or worse, execution. Yet she found solace in the familiarity of Rebecca's presence. "Granny Nurse, who would dare accuse you?" she asked, searching the old woman's face for reassurance. Rebecca sighed, her eyes clouded with concern. "Fear blinds the hearts of men, my dear. A single word spoken in haste can burn down the reputations of the innocent. Tread lightly and keep your heart steadfast." Chapter 2. The Rising Storm. Days turned into weeks as the winter deepened and the first whispers turned into a tempest. The trials commenced in the courtroom, packed with villagers eager to witness the spectacle unfold. As Eliza braved the daily fray of her chores, she could feel the tension hang like a low fog over the village. Friends turned on friends, neighbors vanished into the darkness of jail cells, and the judges, in their finery, played the cruel puppeteers of fate. It was during one such day that Eliza, fetching water from the village well, overheard two women, their voices low but sharp. "Have you heard? Tituba, the slave of Reverend Paris, has confessed," one woman said, her breath misting in the cold. She claimed she saw the devil himself and named others in league with him. Confusion and fear swirled within Eliza as she considered Tituba, a woman whose laughter used to bring light during harsh winters. "Deeper," softly murmured under her breath, but even as she spoke, doubt gnawed at her heart. Eliza returned home, troubled. The shadows of the courtroom loomed large in her mind. She discussed her fears with her mother, who had grown increasingly anxious. "Martha, What will happen if one of us is accused? Eliza pondered aloud, her hands trembling as she clutched a wooden spoon. We must remain vigilant, my love, Martha replied, her gaze piercing yet soft. Choose words wisely, stand by those unjustly accused, and keep your heart pure. The hysteria will pass, but we must survive it. Chapter 3. An Unraveling Thread. As spring crept over Salem, it brought with it a false sense of hope. The trees began to blossom, but the village remained a cauldron of fear, with church bells tolling not for worship, but as a warning. The trials became the topic of every conversation, every gathering. Eliza watched in horror as her beloved Rebecca nurse was accused and taken away, shattering a part of her very soul. One fateful evening, after attending a meeting in the village center where solemn faces discussed the fate of their neighbors, Eliza stepped outside for fresh air. The night was eerily quiet when a soft rustle caught her attention. It was Sarah Good, another woman accused of witchcraft. She stood at the edge of the woods, her haggard face illuminated by moonlight, eyes wild with desperation. "Help me, Eliza!" Sarah cried, her voice breaking. "I am not a witch. They seek to bury me with lies." Eliza's heart ached for the woman who had once been a figure of derision, but now seemed a melancholic embodiment of tragic fate. "I believe you, Sarah, but what can I do?" she replied, inching closer, her heart racing. "Speak truth where others speak lies. Stand with us when the time comes," Sarah urged, her hands grasping at the very air between them. Eliza nodded, but a gnawing fear gripped her heart. To stand against the tide could mean her own condemnation. Chapter 4. The Trials of Conscience. As the trials progressed, Eliza's resolve began to harden like the ice thawing in the spring sun. The atmosphere became increasingly intolerable, friends became enemies, and the line between right and wrong became blurred. Her fears materialized when whispers turned her way. One afternoon, in the midst of a market gathering, accusations erupted. Eliza spoke in curses of the trial. "I swear it," a voice rang out. It was Abigail Williams, the very girl whose jealousy had fueled many of the accusations. The crowd turned, and Eliza felt the weight of their glares. "Speak your truth, Eliza," Martha shouted, stepping protectively in front of her daughter, the fire of a mother's love igniting a courage long dormant. Eliza took a deep breath, feeling the ancient weight of the village resting heavily upon her shoulders. "I do not curse, nor do I condone this madness. Those accused are innocent, caught in the spider's web spun by fear and envy," she proclaimed, voice steady amidst the rising din. Yet her words were drowned by the cacophony of outrage. The truth was a fragile shield, easily shattered. Suddenly, a hand grasped her arm, and she turned to find someone she had never expected, Reverend Paris himself. "Take her," he barked, pointing toward her. "She speaks against the providence of God." As she was led away, the world blurred around her. Clutching a pendant of her mother's, she closed her eyes against the storm of betrayal. Chapter 5. Shadows in the Cell. Eliza found herself thrust into a dim, dank cell alongside other accused women, their faces a portrait of despair and fear. Among them was Rebecca Nurse, who remained resolute as she sat in the corner, her presence a balm to Eliza's tattered spirit. "Stay strong, my dear," Rebecca murmured, a flicker of hope illuminating her soulful eyes. "We must not let despair claim our hearts. Faith will guide us through these shadows." Days turned into nights within the confines of the cell. Eliza's world condensed to the breath of hope and fear, colliding in uneasy harmony. The echoes of the trials reverberated outside, voices rising and falling with the weight of the times. She often thought of her mother, the way she mixed her herbs and spoke of the healing powers within nature. Would she be able to live with herself if she didn't try to help those who were suffering? The resolve that had been stirred inside her took form as a question. What could one soul do against the tide of injustice? Chapter 6. The Great Escape. Determined to confront the sheer madness, Eliza resolved to escape the cell. Under the cloak of night, whispers of a plan began to draw her closer to bravery. She gathered a few steadfast women, sharing tales of hope, resilience, and courage. "This cannot be our story's end," she whispered fiercely as the others nodded, eyes wide with a glimmer of determination. "We will escape, and we will tell the world of the truth." A plan was forged, and in the dark of night their trembling fingers worked unyieldingly against the cold iron bars. The escape was fraught with tension, but the bonds of sisterhood tightened with each shared breath. As they slipped from the prison's grasp into the chill of the night air, hearts raced with both fear and exhilaration, until a familiar face took form in the shadows, revealed to be Gideon, Eliza's younger brother. "They're looking for you. The village is ablaze with talk of witches," he gasped, breathless. "We must warn everyone," Eliza insisted, glancing back toward the fading light of the prison, a symbol of the lives they left behind. They set off on a perilous journey, navigating through the woods just as dawn broke, shedding light on their desperate escape. Chapter 7. In the Eye of the Storm. The weeks that followed became a testimony to survival and resolve. Eliza and her group found refuge in a hidden cabin where they tended to their wounds and shared tales of woe. They reached out to allies in both Salem and nearby towns, desperate to spread the truth of the injustices enacted by the courts. Days passed amidst the cacophony of fear, yet whispers of rebellion began to circulate. The villagers grew restless, the light of truth flickering like a candle caught in a gust. On one fateful morning, news reached Eliza that the tide was finally beginning to turn. Prominent figures began to question the legitimacy of the trials. The arrival of influential scholars and clergy ignited murmurs of dissent against the errant judges, and Ethan Hawthorne, Eliza's father, spoke boldly at a gathering. "We must rescue our village from this deluge of hate." Emboldened by her father's courage, Eliza donned a cloak of strength as she returned to Salem, heart pounding but brimming with hope. She confronted those she once feared, the judges and believers of the witch trials. "Do you not hear the cries of the innocent?" she exclaimed, her voice ringing through the court, echoing against the stony walls. "No witch has ever dwelt among us, only the spirit of fear." The room fell silent as she named names, recalled indiscretions, and laid bare the foundation of deceit that had toppled their lives. Her words weren't met with animosity, but instead formed a bridge. Each voice of dissent became a thread woven back into the community fabric of Salem. Chapter 8. The Dawn of Truth. The witch trials unspooled as fear began to ebb from the hearts of the villagers. The tide turned, and the weight of confessions born from duress led to a reckoning within the courts. The trials brought sorrow, loss, and deep regret. Families, torn asunder, found their way back to one another, but not without cost. In the wake of the trials, as summer painted Salem in vibrant colors, Eliza stood before a gathering of villagers, a mix of faces that had once exuded fear and distrust. Now they gathered in the warmth of kinship, sharing accolades of support for the remaining accused. Today, we reclaim our humanity, Eliza declared, strong and unwavering. Let us honor those who have suffered by opening our hearts to forgiveness and understanding. After the trials, the village began to heal. With her mother's gentle guidance, Eliza and a few other women who had fought against the tide of fear started a community that could heal body and spirit. They held gatherings that celebrated life rather than fear, and as time flowed onward, the pain began to dissolve in the warmth of mutual support. Epilogue: Threads of Legacy. Years passed, shadowed by the memories of the trials, but filled with the spirit of kinship. Eliza Hawthorne became a leading figure in rebuilding Salem Village from the ashes of suspicion and paranoia. Her family worked tirelessly to strengthen the bonds that had been frayed by the trials. The lesson of the witch trials, the consequences of letting fear dictate action, carved its wisdom into the hearts of those who experienced it. As Eliza passed along the tales and truths to her children by the fire, the story transformed from one of darkness to one of resilience. The threads of humanity, woven together, formed a tapestry vibrant against the backdrop of a world forever transformed. In the years to come, as history turned its pages, the tale of a young woman who dared to speak against tyranny and sought the truth during the dark days of the Salem witch trials lingered in hearts, a reminder of the strength of spirit in the face of adversity. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. This will really help the channel grow. Always stay safe, but most of all, stay curious. Until next time.